The moment she sent me that picture, I felt it. Something was wrong.
It was just after midnight when the buzzing started. My phone vibrating across the nightstand like a trapped wasp. I tried to ignore it, thinking it was just work, but the notifications kept coming, one after another. Finally, I reached over and tapped the screen. The preview made my blood run cold. A chat window was open with a name I didn't recognize, filled with heart emojis and late-night confessions. My girlfriend Lila was in the bathroom, humming a tune like nothing in the world was wrong. I just stared at the screen, feeling the ground give way beneath me. Another message popped up. Can't stop thinking about earlier. Same time tomorrow? I swallowed hard, a sudden rush of heat flooding my chest. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the proof was right there, glowing in my hand. When Layla walked out of the bathroom, she smiled at me, that same familiar smile. I forced one back, sliding the phone face down on the mattress before she could see my face. She climbed into bed beside me, completely unaware of the storm brewing in my head. I didn't sleep that night. I just replayed every recent moment, every weird excuse she'd given, every late shift that suddenly didn't make sense. By morning, a plan was forming, though my stomach felt like it was full of hot stones. I acted normal. I even kissed her goodbye as she left for work, watching her drive away with that same carefree smile. The second her car turned the corner, I opened her laptop. She'd forgotten to take it. Her chat app popped open instantly, no password needed, like it was waiting to spill its secrets. And there it was, weeks of messages between her and someone saved simply as Jay. Flirting, planning, laughing about inside jokes I was never a part of. It felt like reading a script to a play she'd been starring in behind my back. But then something else caught my eye, a location pinned for later that evening. A cabin by the lakeshore, a place we had visited years ago on our anniversary. My pulse thundered in my ears as the plan sharpened. I grabbed my keys, threw on a jacket, and drove straight to my best friend Leo's place. He opened the door, rubbing sleep from his eyes, confused to see me on his porch at 8 in the morning. When I explained everything, his expression turned dark, and he just nodded slowly. "You sure you want to see this with your own eyes?" he asked quietly. I didn't answer. We both knew I had to. We drove to the cabin together, parking far enough away that no one would spot the car. The day dragged on. We sat there, hidden behind a cluster of pines with a thermos of bitter coffee between us. Then, around sunset, her car rolled up the dirt path, dust swirling behind it. She stepped out wearing a dress I'd never seen before, the kind she always said she didn't feel comfortable wearing around me. A few moments later, another car parked beside hers. A tall guy stepped out and walked straight toward her. She threw her arms around him like she'd been waiting her whole life for that moment. My chest tightened, but I didn't move. Leo put a hand on my shoulder, a silent anchor. They went inside the cabin, laughing, their silhouettes framed in the warm glow of the window. I could hear their voices, the clinking of glasses. They were acting like lovers on a romantic getaway. I wasn't going to storm in there and cause a scene. That's not what I wanted. I needed something deeper, more final than that. Leo and I walked back to the car in silence. We both knew this wasn't over. That night, back at my apartment, I gathered everything. Screenshots, photos, printed chats. I built a file thicker than a novel. The next morning, I booked a meeting with the cabin's owner, an old family friend. When I told him what happened, he wasn't surprised. He gave me copies of the reservation logs, all signed under the name Jared Cole. With Leo's help, we tracked down Jared's social media. He was one of Lila's co-workers. The timeline made everything painfully clear. By the afternoon, I had every single piece of proof I needed. Then, I confronted her. She walked into the apartment like it was any other day, humming that same tune, smiling, still living in her bubble of lies. When she saw me sitting at the dining table with the folder in front of me, her smile faltered. "What's wrong?" she asked, but the tremor in her voice gave her away. I slid the folder toward her without saying a word. Her face drained of all color as she flipped through the pages. She tried to explain, to make excuses, but there was nothing left to say. I told her I wasn't angry, I was just done. She cried, she begged, she reached for me, but I stepped back. The betrayal had carved something out of me that I knew I could never get back. I handed her the bag I'd packed for her earlier, which was sitting by the door. She looked shocked, but she knew it was over. When she finally walked out, the apartment felt strangely peaceful. That night, Leo and I sat on the balcony, drinking cheap beer and looking out at the city lights. He told me I handled it better than most people would have. I didn't feel strong, I just felt empty. But slowly, that emptiness began to shift into clarity. Layla had been a chapter in my life, but she wasn't the whole book. The next morning, sunlight poured through the window in a way it hadn't in months. I realized I was finally breathing without a weight on my chest. The heartbreak still stung, but it no longer had control over me. As I stepped outside into the cool morning air, I understood that some endings are really just new beginnings. I wasn't broken, I was free. Thanks for watching. If you've ever been through something similar, remember you're not alone. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.